Hey guys, the event when the alarm sounds just opened up, so we're gonna take a look at it. First of all, remember that you have a stage here that is called Everyday Patrol. You clear 3 stages to unlock yourselves the ability to rent a character. Those ones right here, it's Giu, Baccarola, Ezra Kakania. And there will be an additional stage that unlocks an everyday patrol that unlocks every single day. You can see this one here unlocks in 19 hours. So remember to clear these every day in case you would have trouble clearing the suppression stages. Because also what you have to keep in mind is that these characters that you can rent here are only available for the suppression stages and not for the containment stages. Another thing that you have to always remember is that whenever you clear a stage, you will have to get rid of one of the characters that you used in that stage. You will bring 5 characters for each stage, and then you have to get rid of one of those at the end of every battle. You can see here I got rid of Mrs. Bubble after the first battle. After the second battle I got rid of Recoleta. Third battle I got rid of Anali, and so on and so forth. Also, since you use 5 characters in the stage and not only 4, the 5th character that you will use, the character that you put at the very right of your team, he will become something that is called the duty officer. That means he gets an additional perk, a buff, so to speak, conquering the stage. What buff that exactly does depends on and varies depending on what stage you actually face. And the order in which you conquer these stages also matter, as there are perks, and after every battle they are called hazards. And after every single stage you will have to choose one of 2 different hazards that you will get rid of. Which hazards you actually get rid of doesn't really matter, except for one. Let me find it real quick. It is this one right here, where you have to choose between getting rid of your enemies, gaining stacks of instant concealment, or getting stacks of instant strong will. You can get rid of one of those. And what I would highly recommend here is you get rid of the instant concealment, because that leads to them dodging reality damage attacks. And every single character in this game, basically every good main DPS, deals reality damage, so you want to get rid of this. The other one would be them dodging mental damage attacks, but less characters deal mental damage compared to reality damage, so get rid of this instant concealment in stage number 3. Another reason why or the core reason why it matters which stage you face first is, first of all, these stages have different difficulties attached to them, and whenever, let's say I beat this stage number 1, then not only the hazard that I didn't get rid of carries over to whatever stage I face next, but the opponents in the next stage, they also increase their max HP by 25%. Those are reasons why it matters in which order you conquer these stages, and I would highly recommend to you conquer the stage Sympathetic Arousal first. So let's jump into battle and let me explain things further there. Okay, here we are, and as you can see on your screen, very important information, that whenever your enemies are above 50% HP, their stress level increases by 10 at the start of every round. But if they are holding at least 6 debuffs, their stress will decrease by 20 instead. Stress is something that builds up throughout the battle. In the case for our enemies, when they're above 50 HP, they get plus 10 by default at the start of every single round, but if you debuff them enough, then they lose stress. And whenever their stress would reach 50, they would cast, in this stage, their ultimate ability for free, right? Without even accumulating Moxie. And you don't want them to cast their ultimate. So you have to keep their stress level in check, and you want this stress level to never reach 50, so they never use their ultimate. It is a key part here in this battle to bring debuffs. Then additionally, what you also have to keep an eye on is that whenever their HP would drop below 50%, then they get plus 10 stress at the start of the round, and after being attacked by an ultimate, they lose 5. So if they drop below 50%, you would have to attack them with an ultimate quite frequently to reduce their stress, so they don't use their ultimates too much, right? And additionally, you can see that my Liang Yue here, since she's on the very right hand side of my team, she's my duty officer, and she has a number attached to her. That's her stress, and this stress builds up when she gets attacked, when she uses her incantation, whenever she uses an extra action, and so on and so forth. Pretty much everything increases this stress level, and when the stress level reaches 50 for me, then Liang casts her ultimate. And that's why it's very, very important that you put a character here as your duty officer that deals damage with the ultimate. Because also remember that whenever I use an ultimate in a stage, I deal additional Genesis damage with this ultimate. So bring a character that has an ultimate that deals damage. I can highly recommend Liang Yue. She's a very amazing duty officer because her ultimate opens up an array that ranks up my incantation, and it casts very strong extra actions. And this array is open at all times thanks to her casting an ultimate whenever her stress level reaches 50. So yeah, those are just things to keep in mind, that you use the correct duty officer. It has to be one that deals damage with the ultimate, and if they also have an array attached to them, that's even better, right? So choose your duty officer wisely. Also, you can see that these opponents are from the Star Afflators, and you want to inflict debuffs, right? So characters like Noir or Ananli, the character 6, and Fatutu, as well, like this stage, the enemies, they will do a pretty significant amount of damage. As you can see here, boom, that's one attack, and it brings Flutterpage to half HP. That's tremendous. Again, boom, they have AoE attacks. So I kept myself alive here by using Mrs. Bubble and Fatutu, as you can see. And I inflicted debuffs due to Liang Yue and Fatutu's shells. It was enough for me here. But if you have characters from the Plant Afflators like Willow Tuesday, right, the poison team, or Noah Ananli, those are very, very beneficial, as you would deal more damage here, and you need a whole bunch of damage and a whole bunch of survivability. This stage is by far the most difficult out of all of them, but it can be easier for you if you have like Willow Tuesday or Noah Ananli. And yeah, you can see you always want to have 6 debuffs on each enemy if you can, so they don't build their stress level up and they don't use their ultimates. A very good tip is that if it's possible that you don't bring all 3 enemies of those at the same time to below 50%, that would be very, very good, because yeah, the heat here, in this battle turns up once your enemies fall below 50%, because they will increase their stress level and they will use their ultimates more frequently. So if you could kill like the ads before you bring the boss below 50% HP, that would be the best case scenario for you. So try and do that. Kill the ads before the boss gets below 50% HP. And yeah, those are all the tips I can give you. Choose your duty officer correctly. Bring a whole bunch. Yeah, of course, you bring as much damage and as much survivability as you possibly can anyways. Then inflict the debuffs and kill the ads before the boss gets below 50% HP. Those are all the tips that I can give you. Again, highly recommended characters are Noir, Anna Lee, Willow, Tuesday, the character 6, everything that inflicts debuffs and is preferably from the plant afflators. And that's about the battle. So we can now move on to battle number 2 and check that one out. For stage number 2, you should pick the stage called Regulatory Dysfunction. Here you have to bring an officer that performs extra action, because whenever your duty officer performs an extra action, he will gain incantation might and critical damage plus 50%. In this stage you will have to bring someone, like you should use Fatuto in every single stage, right? But in this stage it is especially important because you will have to cleanse debuffs from yourself. As your enemies, for each debuff that you have onto yourself, they deal 15% more damage. And that damage will get completely out of control and they will just kill you if you don't cleanse these debuffs regularly. Also, you can see this debuff on the enemy boss that represents his shield. You can also visually see the shield. And this comes from the buff that he has on himself. Now you have to get rid of this shield, and every single turn. And the way you do that is you attack him as much as possible. That's why, right? Remember, your duty officer, whenever he performs an extra action, he gets a damage bonus. And that's what this battle is all about. You bring your follow-up attack team, and attack the boss as much as possible to get rid of this shield. Because you will see, let me show you this, whenever I attack the boss, yeah, I had to restart that battle, but that's not the point, ignore that please. Whenever you attack the boss, he will lose 1 stack. There we go, he has 2, now he has, I attacked him, he has 1, attacked him again, he loses this. And that's what you want to do. Every single turn he has a different amount of stacks of this shield. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 6, and sometimes it's 3. And you have to keep an eye on that. So let's say, for example's sake, he has 3 stacks of this shield. Now you would attack him with your weaker incantations. For example, I attacked him with like Flutter Page, you know, or with a Fatuto. And when I got rid of his shield, then I attacked with my Recoleta and my Lucy. So get rid of the shield first and save your strongest incantations, the one that deal the most amount of damage, for the end of your rotation, for the moment that he loses this shield. Because yeah, whenever you attack him while he has this shield, your damage will be, of course, negated. That's what shields do. So your damage can never exceed 2% of the boss's maximum HP. So yeah, again, get rid of this shield and use your incantations that would deal the most amount of damage at the end of your rotation. And you see why a follow-up team here is highly recommended. That is because they will get the enough amount of attacks in to actually get rid of this shield. Then you can see that all of your opponents here, they are from the beast afflators. So what you do, you bring damage dealers from the mineral afflators to gain the afflators advantage. That's why for this battle I used Recoleta. Very, very useful. Her ultimate deals a whole bunch of damage. It's AoE, it hits all of your opponents, right? But as you can see, like, you have to get rid of his shield first, and then hit him with the strong stuff, then hit him with your ultimates such as Recoleta, right? See, 4. I attack him again, that's 3, then I attack him again, that's 2, and so on, and get rid of the shield, and then use your big damage. And that's all about this fight. Cleanse debuffs, bring a main DPS from the mineral afflators, and keep an eye on the shield. Follow up attack teams here, paired with a main DPS from the mineral afflators, are very, very strong. So yeah, if you have Jiu Nyangje, then use the follow-up attack with her. She is the best character, the best main DPS to actually use here. You should use Jiu as your duty officer here, actually. I don't have her, so I used Recoleta, and I kept my Liang as my duty officer because she is better at performing extra actions. And that's really all about the battle. You can see 6 stacks. If you don't use the follow-up attack team, you will barely ever get rid of 6 stacks of his buff, and that will reduce the amount of damage you deal significantly. So there you go, those were all the tips. That's all I can tell you about this battle. It's not too tough, but yeah, your opponent, this boss, is pretty hard to take down. He has a lot of HP and the shield is pretty annoying, but if you follow everything that I just explained, then you should have no issue. And now let's watch the end of this battle actually, to like see that my follow-up attack here based around Flutterpage, Fatutu and Liang plus Recoleta actually took this battle down. And there you go, we can now move on to battle number 3. Battle number 3 is called Tactical Retreat, and there's really not much to say here, as your opponents, they don't do anything in particular. This boss, he enters a status, and that will lead to him dealing increased damage by performing an extra action, I think at the end of every round or something. And you can get rid of this status by damaging him with an ultimate. Your duty officer will take care of this anyways, so there's nothing really to worry about here. All I can say is that, yeah, if you look at the enemy afflators, they are all spirit, so if you bring a character that deals damage, a main DPS from the intellect afflators, then you will be golden here. Like my P5 Lucy took good care of this battle pretty easily. Also, I inflict a plethora of debuffs like poison and burn due to Anan Li, and Liang Yuer performs an extra action with her ultimate that also inflicts a bunch of poison and burn. This came in kinda clutch here, but really the key to victory here was for me to use Lucy. And once one of these ads dies, the battle is pretty much over, as then my Lucy goes completely nuts with her extra actions. And yeah, that's really about it. See that you just bring enough damage. You don't need a lot of survivability here. The boss is pretty weak, so you just bring enough damage and you will be fine. It honestly shouldn't be any issue. If you wanna min-max your stuff here, then yeah, bring characters that unlock their ultimate really fast by generating like extra moxie or some stuff to frequently damage the boss with an ultimate, so that you get rid of this status that makes him perform extra actions, and therefore you reduce his damage significantly. And that's about it, guys. Let's move on to battle number 4. Stage number 4 is called Hyperventilation, and that's the easiest battle of them all. By far, I would even say. Here, your duty officer, he first of all, he has increased healing, and he heals your entire team whenever you use a buff incantation. So if your duty officer here has a buff incantation, it makes the fight a little bit more convenient, but it is seriously nothing you have to watch out for. You can see that all your opponents are from the mineral afflators, so if you bring a team that is from the star afflators, like a follow-up team, or if you have impromptu, you will completely obliterate this battle without any issue. And You have to bring, of course, like you should, as I already mentioned, you should use for Tutu here in every single battle, of course, right? If you don't have her, then you have to bring another character that can cleanse debuffs, because these opponents, they inflict dread, and that's a debuff, and you want to get rid of these debuffs, otherwise they will get out of control, and then this battle will actually become a challenge. But yeah, like there shouldn't be any issue to anyone to just cleanse debuffs, right? Everyone should have this at their disposal. And then again, bring a follow-up team around like Flutterpage, 37, Liang, or bring the impromptu team, and this battle is an absolute walk in the park. So let's move on to the actual boss battle. In the final battle against the boss, you can see your opponents are from the Spirit Afflatus, so once again, and they are adds, so once again, if you can bring Lucy here, you will have absolutely no issue. There is not much to point out here really, as your opponents, again, they don't really do anything. But yeah, bring Lucy if you have her. Make sure that you focus the boss non-stop, but also at some point, if this battle goes on for too long, right, he will keep increasing his damage output by stacking unsparing. So you want to be rather quick. In case it would take you a little bit longer, then you would have to make sure that at some point an ad dies here and there, because at the end of every round, the boss will attempt to summon an ad. But if he cannot summon an ad, because there are already 3, he will increase his stress by 10. But if he summons an ad, he doesn't increase his stress by 10. So make sure that from time to time an ad will die, so the boss doesn't stack up on his stress level too fast, right? But yeah, I mean, if that will be an issue, if that will be something that you have to actively watch out for, you might have a little bit of trouble in this battle anyways. You should constantly focus the boss, and these ads, they will die at some point just by the way, by you using mass attacks. And again, if you have Lucy, and once you reach the point in the battle where an ad dies, then Lucy obliterates everything in her path anyways. So that's all I can say, right? The boss doesn't do anything in particular. All there's to say is bring an Intellect Afflatus main DPS character. If you have Lucy, then that's the best character to bring here. And that's about it. Focus the boss. Keep in mind that once he dies, he will revive himself once. And the longer this battle goes on and on and on, the more damage the boss will deal, because he stacks on sparring. And yeah, that's all there is to it, guys. I hope this video was fun and informative. If you like Reverse1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and always remember that we love this game.